African as it is, Zambian inventor Joseph Lungu, turning scrap metal into a sports car.
Welcome to the Absa Breakout session. As you know, this year's platinum sponsors are Absa Bank Zambia. And we are more than delighted to have the one and only Mizinga Melu to be on the show. Welcome to this session.
No, thank you so much for coming, and I must say we welcome TEDx back to Lusaka, again, and really the partnership with Absa this year. For us, it was about how do we bring, our clients' possibilities to life during this very challenging time of COVID. So we felt that the conversations that we're having with, with TEDx, on TEDx, especially, with your team of metamorphosis, for us it was just very relevant, to say we needed to show up and bring possibilities to life for our clients. And really that's what we felt. Those conversations are very important to just remind people of the huge possibilities that amidst all these challenging times, we can still manage, to actually overcome. So that was really the biggest incentive for us. It was part of who we are as a bank.
Interesting, but all of us look up to you, and something that we don't know, most people don't know, is how to relate with. So how did you get to where you are now? And you know how the situation is right now. We have COVID and all that is happening, and so many people are wondering, how do I get about with life? But we have people like you who've made it to the top, who inspire so many people, but would want to know, how did you get to where you are now?
Look, my dad always used to talk about the toolbox. And he would always say, everybody needs a toolbox. For him, it wasn't about the box, but it was about the tools that go in the toolbox. So you have different tools that are in the toolbox, and they would include a screwdriver, they would include the spanner, and different things that would go in a toolbox. And my dad would always say, my toolbox is not complete if at all I don't have all the spanners. So he always used to complain a lot about that. And for him, it was really important that, he buys different things. And what was really interesting is that he didn't actually just come up one day and he says, you have a toolbox. For him, it was over time. Over time, when he's working on something, he would then say, oh, I need this too, and he would get it. And many a times, it's because he's fixing a big problem. Many a times it's because he's got such a huge issue to fix. And the bigger the issue, he found that the more tools he needed in the box. And especially during this time of COVID, I look back and I always say, what do I have in my toolbox? So over the years, I've taken time to actually use my dad's analogy a lot, and I've said, let me build my toolbox. And even as I go, like I say, my dad always said when he had the greatest challenge to fix, he got more tools in the toolbox. And then those tools became so relevant at a later stage in life. And I always found that to be really intriguing. And for me, in my life, I always say has been one of resilience, one of perseverance, and one of failure and overcoming. And as I did that, like my dad used to say, I would fill my life with a lot of skills and experiences in my toolbox. And that's why, you know my story very well. I failed nursing. I always talk about that. And I remember at the time it was very, very painful. It was one of those where, you feel that, you are going somewhere with your friends, and you have to drop off. And it's not like many people dropped off. But I think there was only one or two of us. Well, I know that I dropped off. But as I dropped off after doing 2 years in my life, I felt, what has happened? Will I ever recover the 2 years? Will I ever make it to be anybody relevant in life after the 2 years? I always felt I had lost time. But when I looked back at the experience that I went through during that time, the pain, the tears, the embarrassment, just thinking, what else is there in life? That took me to banking. And it was because I always said, if I had not failed nursing, there's no way I would have got into banking, and there's no way I would have been where I am today. And I remember when I was studying, in the UK, for me it was quite different because it was about, I can't afford to fail anymore. So it was because I had learned, right? There's a lot of my friends who had never failed. For them, it was about, take it easy, there's still tomorrow. We were all in the same boat, but we're putting different tools in our box. My tool was, you can't afford to fail. You've already got that tool in your box. Come on, you can't have the next one again. So for me, it was about, you've already got that. So because I had that, I needed to put different tools of success. So I built on that. I said my different tool that is going to go in is, how do I try and finish my degree program in record time? And that's what I did. I worked so hard. So whilst we were all in class with my friends, we had all different tools in the box. Some actually had no tool in the box. They only had that box, but I had this big tool, which is a tool of failure and how I overcame. And some of my experiences, and always look at the young people these days, and they say, when you're on holiday, don't just hang around at home. Try and go to Spur or Steers or something, or Nando's, and work. Because I remember working in McDonald's, and my job in McDonald's was one that was very interesting because number one, when you are there, you are all equals. It doesn't matter whether you are studying banking or whether you are coming from there. When you are in McDonald's, you are all just the same. And what we'll do there is I would mop the floor. Somehow, because they kind of liked the fact that I was very personable with people. I was very approachable. They felt, you know what, you're not going to be on the till, although I was on the till for a while, but you're also going to be in the lobby. So they promoted me to manager very quickly. They said you're a lobby hostess manager. So what that meant is, it's a fancy title, but the job is also one that brings a lot of humility in your toolbox, because you have to mop the floor while you're smiling at people when they come in. You're like, hello, you're welcome. Meanwhile, you've got a mop in your hand and you sit with them. And if they spill something on the floor, you have to rush and mop it very quickly. And there you are. What did I put in my toolbox during my McDonald's days? I put humility in my box. I put that as you rise to the top, you need that humility, because humility takes you places. And it's very uncomfortable. And that's where I say you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And I always talk about the fact that life will throw a lot of uncomfortable situations at you, like the situation of mopping the floor in McDonald's. But that, it takes you places. You have to be comfortable. It's uncomfortable. You're thinking, it's uncomfortable, yes. But you still have to, thrive and say, it's a risk I'm taking. So I always talk about taking risks in life. If you don't take risks and you have no risk taking in your toolbox, you're not going to go far. So those are some of the lessons that then took me when I then finally joined the bank, to work as a management trainee. I had done a lot than a lot of people who only had a spanner in their toolbox. And for young people, for people who are thinking, how do I thrive and be a CEO? Just check your toolbox. What do you have? And if you don't have a lot in your toolbox, it's time you started putting stuff in your toolbox, putting skills, putting experiences, putting the mopping in McDonald's. But it's going to be tough. It's not going to be easy. And it's never easy. But the end result, the overcoming, is very exciting. Because now I can sit down with you during TEDx, during COVID time, and say, regardless of what we're going through during this period of COVID, I've got enough in my toolbox to still do it with a smile, to still do it with resilience, and still be able to talk to my clients and encourage them that regardless of whether your businesses have shut down, whether you've lost your job, it's still okay. You can still try other lines. You can still diversify.
Interesting. Something that I've learned from your story is that you ran your own race. You knew what you wanted and you worked on it to get to where you want to be now. So say there's somebody out there who is watching and now is inspired by your story. What would you say is a word of encouragement from you to them to help them understand just how they can maneuver around life and get to where they want to be, especially during these difficult times?
I like what you say about running your own race. And that's what it's about. It's about all of us have to run our own race because it's life, right? Joseph in the Bible ran his own race. Yes. You know, he ended up being a prisoner. And look at what happened to him after being a prisoner. He became the most powerful man in Egypt. And that was his race. But he had many prisoners with him. And, you know, God knows what happened to the others. Even after they were released before him, they even forgot about him. So it's about saying you all have to run your own race. So we have a metamorphosis that we use with my colleagues at the office. And it's a story about the palm trees. And we all say you can all be in the same climate. You can all be in the same environment. But it's the same lighting. But other palms will grow higher than others. Other palms will grow taller than others. And you're like, what happened to this one? We planted it on the same day, same fertilizer, same climate, but one is taller than others. And that just means everybody, it's not like it's right or wrong. And there are some people who come and say, I just want a very short palm tree because it's for my office, because the long one won't do. And there are some who say, I want a long one because it's for my highway. So in short, there's power in running your own race. And as you're running your own race, just remember, you know, and that's your theme this year, you know, as TEDx, metamorphosis. How does a butterfly move from being just a small little something to, you know, to fly and say, you know, there we come, you know, I can fly, I'm a butterfly. It means all of us can do it. But you do it even better when you're running your own race. And it's okay, you're gonna fail. I did. You're gonna mop floors. I did. You know, but when you do that, don't waste an experience. You've got an experience, put it in the box and shut the box so that nobody can steal anything from you. Nobody will ever steal an experience from you. But once you've got it, no one can take it away. You can only use it at a later time. When, you know, when stuff happens, you look back and say, what do I have in my box? Resilience. What do I have? Perseverance. Or, to sum it up, sheer grit.
It's amazing how through every chat that we have had, every time we get to listen to you, there's always something great that we learn from you. And would like to thank you as Mizinga Melu, for sharing a great story to everybody who's listening, and Absa at large for making this event a success. So as we go away, are there any last remarks that you would want to share with us?
And thank you so much for inviting Absa to be a part of, or, you know, to partner with yourselves. We are really excited as a bank. Like I say, our view is, you know, we are known to bring possibilities to life. It's Africanacity. Even amidst this challenging time, as Absa, we have a lot to offer in our toolbox so that everybody can thrive amidst the challenging times. Right. Thank you very much.
Africanacity is knitting old plastic bags into new trendy fashion.